Hey everyone, welcome back to the Castaway Consultants, and a very merry welcome back for me as well. I am one of your three co-hosts, Derek Kubicek, and today we are going to be looking at Season 47, Episode 12, Operation Italy.
Mamma mia!
And I'm so happy to be back with my two fabulous co-hosts, Ryan Stacy and Josh Wessler. How are you guys doing tonight?
This episode was a spicy meatball.
No.
You do not have one drop, just not a single ounce of Italian blood in you.
I play a lot of Mario games. It's genuine Italianness.
I'm surprised you're going that direction, not like a dun 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 dun.
I don't know. I just like the Italian aspect, the godfatherness of it all. No, I'm feeling great. This was a great episode. I think I'm the happiest person of the three of us right now because I loved this episode and I'm not salty at all. Josh.
Yeah, this episode was good for the entertainment for the rest of the season, and I don't know. I don't know who to deflect my blame at, just because I am a little bit salty here, just because a lot of things happen in this episode that just don't make sense. I mean, they make sense just when you think about the players in the game, but I'm just frustrated overall with people's decision making,
because you know you're gonna have to pay up some Taco Bell.
Honestly, that is the least important thing to me. It is one of the least important things to me. It's more so that I want to like this season. I'm really afraid that I'm gonna end up not liking this season at the end, 2 weeks from now.
For me, the entertainment value absolutely makes tonight's episode worth watching. It makes it a lot of fun. It really makes it interesting to try and digest. Ryan made a comment, because we were watching it together live, all three of us, and we were sitting in a row.
For like the first time in a month.
Yeah. So we're sitting in a row, and Ryan made a comment. The level of happiness is a spectrum, starting with me, running to Derek, and then to Josh. And I said, I'm happy. I'm just contemplating. And Josh was definitely slumped over a little bit as he was trying to make his own sense of the whole thing. So that's me reacting to us watching Survivor, not me reacting to Survivor, but that's half the fun, is seeing how your friends are acting. So that was kind of the value in the episode for me tonight.
So you said you were digesting
I was.
a spicy meatball?
I knew you were gonna. No, not. I don't have 1 ounce of Italian in me either. I would have to do something with German. Yeah, I'm not sure. Or Bohemian. I'm not even sure what a Bohemian accent would be. Yucksamash. Before we get into that episode proper, though, I was gone last week. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to spend some time with family. Obviously, when you get over the holidays like that, we've usually made it work, but there was just some timing things that had to happen, and spend some time with some family I don't get to see too often.
Yeah, fair.
It'll come out of your paycheck.
Yep.
Yeah, you guys will dock me for last episode. Sounds good.
Yep.
That's fair. Which, depressingly enough, was our biggest episode of the season so far. So,
Listeners now.
the least favorite consultant.
Confirmed.
Confirmed by the data. I wanted to go back to episode 11 and share with everyone just really quickly best and worst, and then some unadulterated thoughts that I sent to Josh and Ryan, so you guys can hear where I was and then immediately get a payoff with where I am today. So for my best of the episode last week, I had Rachel. I feel like that's pretty self-explanatory based on how she was able to position, establish a threat level, and ultimately still get someone like Kyle to go home. I had Kyle above her on my dank down, so I really liked the move for her. And I had Kyle as being the right move to go home because of his challenge threat. I'm going to get into an unadulterated thought. Josh said, I wish Derek was here for the math. Here's my two problems with the math.
Thank you.
All right. So first of all, Josh brought this up. Sample size is garbage. But for me, the biggest issue is the input. Andy's assumption was that Kyle winning immunity is a coin flip. Where is he drawing this 50% assumption? Crap in, crap out. If you have a bad input, you get a bad output. And bad information is often worse than no information. Unfortunately, the information they have is that Kyle won 4 out of 6 individual immunities. Granted, one of them was a double, and he didn't win that one overall, but point stands. That was when there were more people in the game. He had fewer competitors, and a lot of the people left were not the super challenge competitors other than him. So a coin flip, I'm not saying that it was generous. I'm not saying that it was weak. I'm saying that it was wrong. And that's my biggest issue with him walking around like some kind of AI engineer saying that there's a 6.25% chance that Kyle is going to win out in immunity.
Yeah, well, AI people don't always think things through.
I would highly, yeah. Well, we've already talked about that. We root for him personally, not professionally.
Yep.
Unless he's subterfuge, right? Like unless it's sabotage.
This is an anti-AI podcast. Look, I need to go off on a rant here. No, I'm just-
Yeah, no, we don't need.
Enough for ants.
Ryan, for my worst, I had Genevieve just only because Kyle was her last shield. I felt. What's funny about that will, I'm sure, arise. But I had kind of NA. I think everyone did what they needed to do, and especially because I thought Kyle was the right move. There was really no worse player. For next, I'd pick the low-hanging fruit and said Genevieve. For my dank down, I had another pluck-in swap because I've been very satisfied with my dank down. So it went Genevieve, Rachel, Sam, Caroline, Teeny, Andy, Sue. I had moved Teeny down and Caroline up one as of last week. No new forks. I very strongly considered Teeny, but based on what I saw last week, I was convinced that Teeny would annihilate Andy and Sue in a final 3. Survivor pool. I win.
The main thing.
Yep. But yeah, you don't get to gloat too much because you weren't here to gloat.
I wasn't. So 3 in a row.
You win.
3-peat.
Congrats.
I'm the best. You're the worst.
Moving on.
We're done. And of course, the last thing I wanted to talk to you guys about, you placing Kyle so low was a war crime.
Okay.
On your rank down and your jank down the week before his demise. This entire episode where he went home.
I don't think we see 1% of 1% of the show. I don't think you can label anything we did a war crime.
We admitted on the podcast
You
that we
did.
got more information, and
We do the best we can
We
with the
regretted
information we have.
I saw it. The listeners saw it. The only two who seemed to be blinded by the Kyle light was you two. So that's all I'll say. Thank you for listening to this little bit of house cleaning. But we can get into the episode proper now whenever you guys are ready because, man, I think there were things I was wrong about.
Great episode tonight. In my opinion, it was a lot of fun, a lot to talk about. I'm feeling pretty good about certain things, certain bets that have been made. But let's get into that. Spoiler alert. You guys ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1. Oh, and Andy's winning this game. I don't know for sure if Andy's winning this game, but
Andy's winning this game.
Andy could very well win this game.
Andy's winning this game. And that's the big problem that I have is I think that it's just going to turn out to not be a good season just because I have disliked so much of the editing choices this season.
I don't know. I think it's a great story.
It has been a very misguided story up until this one point. Andy made a amazing move this episode. Everything else before this was nothing. And I think they were trying to make Andy into something because he's going to win. So they want it to be more than just, here comes Andy in the last episode before the finale.
Building it up.
Yeah, building up nothing though. Building up him thinking that he's doing things, but it's really other people, and he's just either flipping and flopping or just following people along or whatever it might be, which is perfectly fine, as we'll see when he wins this game.
Yeah.
It can win you the game, but don't tell us that it's something that it's not. And that's going to be my big issue when he does end up winning this game.
Taco Bell's going to be so good.
Enjoy it.
I'm going to save my Andy takes for later in the episode, but obviously he was the featured Castaway tonight.
Yep.
I think this is the 6th or 7th episode that he's named, which is, I mean, that's got to be encroaching on some kind of
I wonder
record.
what the record is. I'm sure Boss Rob's got the record, but Russell. But I wonder. That's a good question. That's good trivia. Should we get into the episode and then talk about all this nonsense?
Yes. Yeah. Let's kick it off.
Let's kick it off. Let's get Italian up in here. Okay, so last week Genevieve was talking smack about Eddie's game, basically saying he was a goat. I guess Andy heard about this, or Genevieve realized Andy heard about this, so she goes to apologize to Andy for talking smack. Andy says it's okay, it's all good. He's gonna work with her in this episode, and Genevieve's goal is to try and lower her threat level now. I don't really know if that worked. I'll be honest.
She's said this for like 2 episodes now, so maybe. If Andy doesn't win this game, Genevieve's going to win the game just because of the way that things are going to shake out tonight. It might just be enough to deflect attention to other people, and maybe she did shrink her game enough, basically just to get a couple of other people out of the game, to get her close enough to make it into the final 3. I don't know. I still think that she built up way too big of a threat for herself, and she has a lot to try to manage with that.
Yeah. For me, it's all about being a good person. If you find out that someone heard that you were talking something that comes across a little personal, I don't respect what you're doing in this game. I don't respect the way you're going about it. I don't think she was apologizing for her perception of his game. I think she was apologizing for the fact that it was a hurtful way in which it came out. I think that's good, and it also builds a bridge. Does Andy make this plan with Sam and Genevieve if she doesn't do this? Andy seems like the kind of guy who's very strategic forward and probably would, but something like this does not hurt because it builds a bridge.
Genevieve is going to go to Teeny and pitch taking out Rachel next because Rachel's the biggest threat, which I agree with. And she even tells Teeny, I wouldn't 100% vote for you if you're up against Rachel. It's not a slam dunk. I might vote for Rachel. She plays a great game. And Teeny gets so offended at the idea that Genevieve would possibly vote for someone other than her. Oh, Teeny, you haven't done that much. And, instead of getting offended, how about you play a better game? How about that? Because, Teeny's going to take that personally, along with several other things in this episode. Teeny is a bad episode, I think. She's, pissed off, which is, fine, but you gotta, not let that affect your game so much.
Yeah, be pissed off on the inside.
Yep.
Teeny had a very poor episode. Some of the stuff, it's not actually going to matter a whole lot, but other things are going to be very, very important that we'll get to. But something like this, all you have to do is basically say, just consider it.
Yep.
You don't have to actually go along with it, but just telling Genevieve to her face that that's not something that you're interested in.
Sounds like a threat.
We're seeing something for the first time tonight with Teeny. Teeny's finally on the top. Teeny is finally in an alliance that has the numbers and has the power, has the agency, assuming nothing crumbles. Or at least she feels that she's in this position. And this is how she's treating Genevieve, who has pulled the wool over her eyes a couple times, but has included her in others. Genevieve is on her last leg. Teeny needs to be able to take this and be like, instead of saying to her face, that sounds like a threat, you walk away and go, yeah, that's a threat, but I still need to think about this. Is Rachel someone that I can beat at the end? Which is something that Teeny is already thinking. But you don't say to Genevieve, that sounds like a threat. And then, of course, Genevieve responds in kind, wow, someone doesn't have a handle on their emotions. She doesn't say it like that, but she's like, you are very forward with your emotions.
She's like, you weaponize your emotions.
Yeah. And, I mean, this is just two people getting into a bit of a bickering match. It's not really good on either of them.
Definitely worse on Teeny.
That last comment I didn't like from Genevieve, but
I agree that it's worse on Teeny because Genevieve is not laying down. Of course, you have to hold your vote hostage. You have to do something.
Yep.
You have to make something change.
So Teeny tells Andy and Rachel what Genevieve and Sam are doing. They're targeting Rachel. That's their plan. But we're going to go into the reward challenge, and Sam's going to win pasta, an Italian feast. And then after he wins, Jeff's like, and you get letters from home.
Bye!
Pick some people. Love it. Good job, Jeff.
Which this is what they're going to do basically forever.
Which
now,
is smart.
Which is the right thing to do, editing-wise.
Yeah, I can't wait for the day where they're like, oh, and then you get your loved ones, too. And tell them that there, after the challenge is won. That'll be a good kick in the groin.
Do I have to?
I love...
Can I just quit the game?
They should straight up do that. It would be the best idea for production to do that. That'd be really fun.
Surprised loved ones visit.
After the challenge is over.
Yeah, so you're going to get to pick someone to come on this reward with you. But first, I'm going to give you someone to come on this reward with you.
Here's your...
brother.
Whatever. Yeah.
His brother wrote him a letter.
There we go. Perfect. Do it. Sam's going to bring Andy because he promised he would. If you promise somebody, take him. Don't promise it, but if you promise someone, take him. I think Andy's a good pick because they have kind of a fractured alliance. There's some working relationship, but needs some more TLC.
And he picks him first.
Yep.
I like that Andy was picked first. The only bad look is that Andy's the only other guy.
Yep.
But he's also original Gata.
So there's something there. Then he brings Genevieve, which is just a terrible pick.
Terrible. Awful.
He has Genevieve. They are on the bottom. They need each other. If they're going to work together, they either have to turn on each other or work together, and either one is fine. But, if you come up with a plan with two other people and bring Genevieve in, you're set. You don't need Genevieve here. You need another person, someone you can flip, someone who maybe plays with their emotions a lot, someone like Sue.
I agree. That's what I was saying when he was, trying to figure it out. I was saying Sue.
During the commercial break, you guys caught me slipping a bit, working through how I felt about Sam's picks. because I'm of two minds of it. If you're going to be game body, as a podcast is often accused of being, and we take that as a badge of honor, I think Sue and Andy are the right two to bring, just because Sue is very loyal and she's appreciative, and the letters from home might get her to maybe bring in Caroline as a duo that they're aware of. So I think Andy was the first good pick, and then Sue, just because of loyalty and maybe connection to loved ones, was a good second pick from a game bot. And then you have Genevieve back on the beach, who you know is going to work with you and maybe do some damage control and feedback information or prevent something else from cropping up. But I want to play devil's advocate because we're going to see something really interesting happen. I understand that part is results-oriented thinking, but I think if you know there's a strong alliance of 5 and you've picked your one, who's most likely, and that's Andy, having someone who's not going to feed you a load of crap might be worth taking if there is an advantage that you find there together, and then you can scheme with it together. You can have the food. If there's an idol there and you both get food, then one has a better chance of winning immunity, and then another one can use the advantage. I'm not saying this is the right thing to do. And Ryan, for those on YouTube, you're getting a treat. He's just shaking his head. I'm never taking you on reward when we play Survivor together. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying there's not a 0 to this.
Yes, there is.
Because the Underdog Alliance...
There's a 0.001.
The Underdog Alliance was not looking like it was breaking, and the one person that they brought is the person who broke it. I'm saying Sam may have realistically had a better read than he thought.
He didn't know. He did not know that.
Thinking. Absolutely not.
You do it all the time. I still admitted that the better move is Sue and Andy.
You're hoping for a Hail Mary chance in that scenario when there's a better... Still long shot chance, but a better chance with someone like an Andy and a Sue, two people who have been very visibly shown in the past of, changing their minds and just going with emotions.
Yeah.
So why put 3, hey, we can get the solid group of 3 together. Yes, 100% true. But there's nothing to indicate that it can go any further than that.
Yeah, the flop side to my devil's advocate is, if Andy's on the reward and he's the most likely to flip, don't bring him because he's the most likely to work with you whether or not you take him.
Yeah, it's Andy and Sue, and I won't hear anything else as a possible option.
Hey, I just presented devil's advocate.
Sure.
Wouldn't be an interesting podcast.
No, absolutely not.
Divide and conquer, people.
Sam got lucky.
Sam got lucky. This was a terrible pick from Sam, and he lucks out. Yeah, Teeny's pissed. She wants to get the other women, not counting Genevieve, the Caroline, Sue, Rachel, Final Four, and take out Sam, Genevieve, and Andy in that order.
Yeah?
Results-oriented appreciation. Every time a women's alliance gets mentioned, a woman goes home this season. Oh, no.
Yep.
And it wasn't even their fault.
And as a man, I gotta say I'm relieved.
Oh, every time a women's alliance comes up, I'm like, well, I guess now I'm rooting for Sam and Andy. Like I just feel a certain connection. I know half of our audience are women, and I appreciate and love you guys.
I think it's just a survival instinct.
But it's just like, it's knowing that you guys out there could be in an alliance that I'm not included in. Yep. We talk about it all the time, and I would expect you to say the same about a men's alliance.
Yes, exactly.
I will say, on the flip side, I was rooting for these 4. I really was.
Josh was very, very big on these 4.
Because I genuinely like these people. I've been rooting against Andy. I've been rooting against Genevieve. Sam, I haven't been rooting against Sam. I actually really like Sam. I just think that he's been taking a terrible approach to his game. Whereas I really like how Rachel's been playing her game. I really like how Caroline has been playing her game. And then you have Sue and Teeny. But
they're there.
50% ain't bad.
Sam doesn't have a terrible approach to his game.
Sam has a terrible approach
It's
to
a
the game.
middling approach ever since Sierra has gone home, I think.
That is correct. That's being generous, I would say.
You call it generous. I'm just saying I don't think it's terrible. I'm middling. Tepid.
I lean more towards Derek on this one. Also I'm rooting for Sam to win.
I expected more from Sam, is all I'll say.
Sam is my favorite person love. I want Sam to win. I don't think he will, but I'm rooting for him. So Andy's going to pitch to Genevieve and Sam. He tells them, like, hey, yeah, there is an underdog alliance that I'm in with the other 4. What I want to do here is build up suspicion about an idol between you two, Genevieve and Sam. I want to get the underdog alliance to split the vote, and then we take out Rachel, a 2-2-3. And then he also reveals that Rachel has got a vote block advantage. So they come up with a plan. There's a very famous moment in Big Brother. I think it's season 10. It's widely considered the best moment in all of Big Brother. Dan's funeral. And this kind of reminded me a little bit of Dan's funeral because I don't know the whole story here, but basically Dan, one of the best Big Brother players of all time, was sent into Exile Island in a house. He was just locked in a room by himself. And he just spent hours and hours and hours just thinking and coming up with a story and a plan. And that's kind of what it felt like here. It was just a montage sequence of Andy, Sam, Genevieve working together, coming up with a plan, a yarn to spin once they got back, to pull off Operation Italy, to pull off Dan's funeral. Very similar. And basically Dan's funeral was he got out of the room, gave a speech, basically like, yep, well, I'm done. And just somehow torpedoed the game and got someone else sent home instead. Just blew up the whole game with one speech. Is what I like. I haven't seen much Big Brother, but that is what I understand to be the gist of it, for those who are wondering. It's considered like the best move in all of Big Brother. This, a pretty damn good move. Maybe not as good as Dan's funeral, but Operation Italy is what is born here. So they come up with this plan. They have a fake idol. They use some just materials they have along with Sam's old expired idol to come up with Operation Italy, and it's awesome.
It's more than a concept of a plan.
Yes.
It's a plan.
I guess it's awesome, but it's dumb. There's no reason why this should work. First of all, there's no reason why this should work, and also it's not that complicated. Like, you don't need to stay up all night in order to iron out all these details. Like, no, this is a very straightforward.
You get on the same
plan.
page.
You get on the same page. There's a couple of things that need to be ironed out.
Plan.
A 3-pronged plan that can get ironed out in a few minutes. Honestly, this was not an all night thing. Yes, they showed footage of them being up at night, but that was for editing magic, so that they could put in all their effects.
Hey man. From all accounts, Dan's funeral shouldn't have worked either. Most iconic move in all Big Brother.
Iconic moves are made because people play poorly.
See, but this is what I love. Andy needs to do stuff like this. He needs agency.
I'm not blaming Andy for any of this.
And now you're Genevieve and you're Sam, and not only has Andy confirmed that there is in fact a solidified named alliance against you, but here's a lifeline. There's a line in the wonderful movie Inglourious Bastards where a guy is asked, "Can you do it?" And he's like, "I have to do it." Can we pull off Operation Italy? We have to pull off Operation Italy.
Yep. This is win or lose for Sam and Genevieve.
Yeah. Their games.
And Andy, I would say.
Probably.
Their games, short term and like short, middle, long term, all depend on this.
So they get back, and Sam's going to just like play dead, offer up his vote. Andy's going to be like, yeah, they really strong-armed me. I didn't like their approach.
I'm just starting a dialogue.
Yeah, it was just like, it was really mean. I didn't like it. And he's like, I'm scared that Genevieve might have an idol. And all the underdogs like, we want to take Sam out. And Andy's like, I'd rather do like a flush on Genevieve and try and get rid of the idol. Just throwing that out there.
The only thing that hurts me is this was so Aubrey Bracco. I just want to start a dialogue. He's the same story, almost very rehearsed. Sam's out here channeling theater improv, and Andy in the driver's seat is, I mean, I know we're omnipotent, so we know, but you gotta be curious.
The difference is Andy was already in alliance with them and Aubrey was not.
Yes. Yeah, I understand that, but it's interesting to watch the editing come off like that, and then we're gonna see the worst acting job yet to come from Genevieve, in my opinion.
We're going to go to the immunity challenge, and Rachel's going to win, saving herself. So she cannot be the target of Operation Italy anymore. Someone else is going to have to sleep with the fishes.
And weirdly enough, this may have played to their advantage, because if Rachel gets spooked that they are targeting her, because everyone knew that was kind of who Sam and Genevieve were pitching before that, she might just get scared and play her idol, and then Operation Italy has no chance.
Sam actually put out Blue Skied. He wrote he wrote a message in the sky, a little sky writing. If you will, like a sky tweet.
A sky tweet.
Well, we'll call it. I like skywriting.
He did a little skywriting, and he pointed out that like if he or Genevieve had won, this wouldn't have worked.
Hint, hint.
Maybe they threw the challenge. And Derek, you asked or was it you who asked
No, I think
it was Josh.
That was me.
Josh, you asked
during the episode.
Should they throw the challenge? And I got to thinking. And I'm starting to think yes, because this is win or lose. This is the difference between really 7th and 6th or an actual shot to win. Because unless you go on an immunity run, you're out 7th and 6th. This is a play to win the game as opposed to like just survive them around. And if one of them win immunity, this doesn't work. If you want to go for broke and try and have a genuine shot at winning this game, I think you do throw the immunity challenge here and try Operation Italy.
Because if Sam wins the immunity challenge here, Genevieve goes home.
Yep.
Cool. You saved yourself with immunity. Great. You are almost for sure going home next. Like, there should be no reason why they keep you around after that. So it's something to consider.
I think I'm on the train.
I'm not on the train because the person who benefits most from them throwing the challenge is Andy. In a vacuum, I'd say there's about a 6.25% chance that Operation Italy actually goes off without a hitch.
Okay.
And that's because I'm attributing a coin flip to Kyle's ability to win a challenge last episode. And if I'm Sam or if I'm Genevieve and you win tonight, getting down to 6, like I know that there's this underdog alliance of 5 and there's this sub alliance of 4. They need to start eating each other. And if you've been declawed, as Genevieve put it, or defanged, as I've put it in past episodes, for long enough, you can shrink back into the background long enough to make something interesting happen and just pray for time. I don't think I throw an immunity challenge here in the name of Operation Italy. The one positive I can think of is Sam earns Genevieve's vote by doing this with her. Genevieve earns Sam's vote by doing it with him. And Andy, even throwing them a lifeline, is maybe earning his first 2 genuine appreciation jury votes if they get voted out anyway. So I think Andy benefits the most, but I think that Genevieve and Sam probably shouldn't have thrown this.
Andy absolutely benefits the most, and he should still win immunity because
Regardless, it doesn't hurt anyone else.
But having Andy and Genevieve throw the challenge is great for Andy, no matter what. But I think I like it for Sam and Genevieve if that's what happened.
My one rebuttal, Derek, is I don't think people need to worry about, eating each other with that final 4. Those 4 women who already had that time alone, like, they're in consensus that they're going to Final 4 together because all of them, except for Sue, think that they have a shot at each other in the end. Yeah, some might be more confident in themselves. Caroline is confident that she can beat any of them. Rachel is confident that she can beat any of them. Teeny thinks that she can beat any of them.
Not rightly so.
Wrongly so.
Yeah,
they all think that, and we've gotten basically confirmation of that. So I don't think there's any risk after this of flipping the game. Let's say that Genevieve goes home, Sam and Andy getting Caroline and Sue, the most likely duo, I guess, to flip, or maybe the other two try to break up that duo. I just don't see any possibility of that happening because logically I don't see any reason for them to.
I don't fully agree, but I accept the counter argument.
So Sam and Genevieve and later Andy, they need to find a new target. It can't be Rachel anymore. So they end up picking Caroline, sneaky player, also really close with Sue, break up that duo.
Yep, Ryan called this ahead of time.
I did. I wasn't going to say it, but did. Thank you.
I will give you your flowers when deserved. Rare.
So they pick Caroline to break up a duo, which I think is fair, and I also think Caroline is probably a better player than either Teeny or Sue, so I think that's a good pick for the new target.
I did swap her above Teeny in my dank down last week.
And I would have this week if Caroline had survived this.
Yeah.
But yeah, now we have to convince the 4 women to split the vote because Teeny does not think Genevieve is an idol, wants to just throw all the votes on Sam. And Andy's like, I think we should split the votes.
No.
Okay, he forces.
Well, yes. Yes, he forced it, but we get a nice confession about in order for this to work, this has to happen, this has to happen, this has to happen, but most important thing is we need to have them basically come up with the idea, lead them into the idea of splitting the vote. And it's, made to believe that, they kind of come to that conclusion on their own after being afraid of the idol. Andy, 5 seconds after saying, I'm kind of worried about an idol. And then oh yeah, maybe, I guess. And we should split the vote, right? It is the most obvious thing. And then he just keeps doubling down on it. Caroline says, sure, let's split the vote. which is an okay thing to say to him, and then, actually decide what you want to do afterwards.
Yeah.
But this, along with a couple other things, just there's no reason why this plan should have worked. It was executed terribly, honestly, like just from an acting perspective.
Let's get into part 2 of this. Teeny's going to go talk to Sam and Genevieve, and they're going to try and do a whole a trickery on Teeny. Genevieve basically implies like, oh, I have the idol, because Teeny's going to say like, oh yeah, they're deciding between the two of you. It could be you, Genevieve. It's probably you. And Genevieve's like, good, keep it that way. I'll be fine. Why are you going to be fine, Genevieve? Why am I going to be fine? A bad acting job akin to Amanda and Parvati
under the coconut tree
in Heroes versus Villains. Like, Genevieve's like, yeah, basically don't worry, I have an idol. I'm going to play it. I'm going to save myself. With the last conversation we saw between these two, Teeny should not buy this at all. She'd be like, okay, so this is a trick.
0%.
0%. This is not real. And then, like, Teeny does ask, like, oh, do you have a note? And Genevieve's like, yeah, I buried it. I can go get it if you want.
She said she burned it.
No, she said buried. She said buried. And then she said, I can go get it if you want. Huh. And Teeny should have insisted, but Andy walks over and like, oh, we gotta hide, we gotta run, we gotta hide.
Which I'll credit Sam on that one, because Sam's the one that's like, oh, someone's coming.
Yep. Great from Sam.
Improv.
Great improv. But yeah, Teeny absolutely needed to insist, like, let me see the note.
Because they still had time, because, they did, walk away to not seem suspicious or anything like that. But then Genevieve and Teeny were together. Just the two of them walking away. That was your opportunity to see it closer.
Can I see the note? Ask for the note. Receipts, baby.
I don't want to get duped by an edit too much, but my biggest issue is the acceptance that we got from Teeny after this, that Sam was the one who was going home. And yet again, we have another vendetta on this season that ends up dictating what Teeny was going to do and not maybe seeing the less obvious vote. The thing that John Lovett talked about in episode 1, like there's the easy vote and then there's whatever's actually happening. Yep. I don't remember how he phrased it, but it's happened in Survivor since day 1. There's the easy and then there's the interesting
What's going on behind the scenes?
So I did not like that the edit gave us that Teeny was hook, line, and sinker, accepted this as fact.
Yeah, it was not great from Teeny. She should not have bought this. Someone on the bottom who's like, oh, don't worry, I'm not going home. Like that, they do not have an idol. It is fake. Vote them out.
and Teeny, if you're listening, I know a big fan of the podcast, let us know. Did you talk about in confessional that this could have been a fake? Or did you talk about in a group that what you saw could have been a fake? Did you divulge this to the others? I want to know how this disseminated, and I want to know if it factored in truly to the split vote and Operation Italy. I'm curious.
But yeah, Teeny needed to ask for the receipts and then blow up her spot and tell her alliance what's going on as soon as she can't provide it. And then maybe don't trust Andy.
By the way, can we say how appreciative we are that no shots in the dark were here to get in the way of this beautiful plan? I think it almost makes it more impressive. Actually, I think it makes it more impressive. Not almost. It does.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they continue to sell it. Sam goes to Caroline and Rachel, and it's like, hey, Genevieve's pitching you, Caroline. And they're like, okay, cool. You vote for Genevieve. We're taking her out. And that's what they tell Sam to do. Yeah, more conversations on whether or not we should split, play, in case of an idol, blah, 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 blah. A lot of like, oh God, is this going to work? But we're going to go to tribal council, and Operation Italy is a success. It's 3 votes for Caroline, 2 votes for Sam, 2 votes for Genevieve, and it is awesome. I loved it. Now, it should have absolutely been Genevieve or Sam. Probably Genevieve, I think. The majority got tricked. And the 4 of them should have stuck together, and they should have seen through Andy's lie. They should have seen through Genevieve's lie. And so the wrong person went home, I think.
I think with no shots in the dark in the game, I've gone back as far as I can tell that even under threat of idol, sometimes Byzantine game theory is the right way to go. And right now, Genevieve is still a big threat. Rachel is still a big threat as well. You need to be thinking about that, but that is a problem for another day.
She won immunity. Can't do anything about it.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, if you're thinking about the people who are big threats left in the game, if you are one of the 4 people who need the 3 bigger threats to go home, Sam, Genevieve, Rachel's unavailable. Sam and Genevieve, pick one. And if one of you goes home, you still have the numbers next time. Get them again. Find the idol. Do the work. At a certain point, you need to take risk. And Andy talking them out of that, and Genevieve convincing Teeny, and Sam honestly carrying the team based on what we saw. I think this was probably the wrong move for the majority number of people, but really great for the slight minority of people that it worked for.
It was definitively the wrong move. It's not even close. They got duped.
Yep.
They got duped by a terrible acting job, terrible line. Using any sort of logic, they should have been able to see this coming. Andy is at the bottom. He has shown that he will flip and flop. Just to keep himself either in a good position or just try and not be at the bottom, scrape away. He is the one who suggested splitting the vote after coming back from being at the sanctuary with these two. You even brought up in tribal council the fact that there could be the three of them working together. I don't remember who said it, but it did come up at tribal council, but yet they're just completely ignoring, that risk that's there. All for what? An idol that Andy brought up. Like, this should be so obvious. And I know it's easier to say when we're just watching the episode versus them being on the island. I know that. But that's what makes good Survivor players, is not getting duped by a bad plan.
It was Teeny who said it, by the way.
This was a terrible plan in, like... This is a terrible plan in, like, the likelihood of it working.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
It was a great plan for the three people as a Hail Mary to try to stay in the game. It had a 1% chance of working.
No, 6 point whatever.
6.25.
It had a 1% chance of working. And it did. Just because you came up against people who, I don't know, didn't want to hurt Andy's feelings? Like, I don't know what the reason was, other than Andy just kept pushing and then you gave in. Like, and I know the other part is Teeny, like Teeny's perspective and everything, like, but still, just bad gameplay, terrible gameplay, actually.
What's perfect about a perfect storm? Think about the people who were in the majority in the situation. We have Teeny, very poor at her social reads, and not just this time. We've seen that time and time again in this game. Sue, not really doing a lot in this game, and not the most savvy of players. Caroline, savvy player, but definitely subdued, biding her time, in a good position as soon as these other two power players are out of the game. Maybe a little bit complacent right now. Rachel, has an idol, has immunity, isn't all that worried about tonight. You've just got four people, none of whom are well equipped enough to see this for what it was. And it's fascinating to me that sometimes Cochran's right. You just got to out-time them.
So what did social media have to say?
Yeah, we asked both Twitter and Threads if the right person was voted out tonight. On Threads, 71% of people said no. And on Twitter, 66% of people said yes.
Oh, we got a split between the social media.
First time since we started asking both Threads and Twitter. So,
and the N is pretty close. We've got similar amounts of votes.
Yeah, on both, which is again kind of rare. Okay. So interesting.
So which social media said no?
Threads had it.
Threads
correct.
had no.
Okay, so we all agree with Threads.
Yes.
Twitter's wrong.
Twitter remains the antagonist to the podcast.
All right, let's get into best and worst player of the episode. Derek, give us your best player of the episode.
Oh, I mean, it's Andy. He pulled off Operation Italy and gives himself possibly a chance to actually win this game.
Yeah, we should know that the jury is like, wow, Andy did this.
I don't know.
We got that.
Well, yes.
We got Andy.
We got it because Andy made sure that they knew that, like, he's like, I'll explain. And then I think it was Gabe's like, Andy flipped again. So we'll see. I don't know if it's the type of thing that the jury's gonna be like, oh, Andy's making moves, like, good for him. I didn't expect this out of him. Or is it Andy just keeps flipping and flopping and it's not is something that we really respect?
Well, we have a question about this.
Yeah, we got a great question over on Blue Sky from Sophie. Thank you. The question is, Andy has been one of the most flippy players in the new era. Is this a good game move? I think with the jury it would alienate people, but they all seem to acknowledge that he made the move and respect the gameplay. Or does it just depend on the jury? Josh, this is what you've been talking about with Andy, so I'll give it to you for a second to address this.
I think the only way that he's able to get respect is by the inner talkings at Ponderosa. Like, in this moment, I don't think that they do. Just from the tone, again, I think it was Gabe, maybe Soul, I'm not sure. The way that they said it was basically like, oh, Andy flipped again. It seemed a little bit more negatively toned, but, through the talkings at Ponderosa. And then if he makes it to Final Tribal Council with a lot of talking, it might come through that it's like, oh, I can respect that.
All Andy has to say if he gets to Final Tribal Council is like, I was in a bad spot. I didn't have much of a shot. I needed to take big swings and flip and take people out to have a chance.
And in this scenario, Andy having a chance at winning probably would have to have both Sam and Genevieve on the jury, and I bet that they would vouch for him.
And Andy does have a couple friends there already in Sol and Kyle.
He did help vote both of them out, though.
But they like him.
To answer your question very plainly, Sophie, if this jury is like Millennials versus Gen X, this helps Andy a lot. If it's like most of the juries we've seen, this active flipping back and forth is probably doing more harm than good. If Sam and Genevieve go to the jury, though, they can vouch for you. If they go to the end, you lost anyway.
So, Josh, who is your best player?
Oh, it's not close. It's Andy.
Yeah.
Actually, it's the only option. This is actually this is the easiest that the best and worst has been in a long time.
Yeah, it's clearly Andy. Great job. How about worst player, Josh?
It's Teeny. It's not close.
Yeah, Teeny got snippy with Genevieve. She got too emotional. She got fooled by Operation Italy, probably the worst out of everybody. It's Teeny.
And had a lot of bad social moments, both that were in front of people and then ones that were behind people's back that came across as immature. It's Teeny. Yeah.
I'm not upset about Teeny basically having her moment back at camp when it's just the 4 women, because it seems like everyone's on the same page there, and the people she's talking about are not at camp with her. Like, it's the type of thing that, some people are going to be really upset about just because, like, she's hating on men. I have no issue with what she's doing. She's just venting, and she's venting to 3 people who I think all agree with her. Yeah.
The issue I have is that she is outwardly mad that Sam was not dumb enough to bring her on to the reward that she would have never fallen for the pitch for. So that's where you should have picked me because I'm the one that you might be able to flip on a Hail Mary. That's very presumptuous.
It's not great logic. Yeah.
I would have been curious to see what her reaction would have been if
like
Sam had picked Sue. What would Teeny have thought? That would have been interesting. We'll never know. Who is going next? I'll go first on this one. I think it will be Genevieve's number up this time, but I think it's going to be an idol. I think Rachel is going to idol Genevieve out of the game. I think there are going to be people coming for Rachel, and Rachel's going to save herself with her idol.
I think it's Genevieve, and I'm going to say it's because of Rachel's block a vote, and she'll save her idol for 5.
Also possible, yes.
Yes, the one of her advantages are going to come into play just because the idol expires at 5. So I think that it would make more sense for the block of vote to come in here, just to guarantee her spot at 5. I don't think she wants to use it 1 vote too early right now. So I also had Genevieve.
In a potential 3 versus 3, this is when you do block a vote. Mm-hmm. And also I can see Andy flipping back to take out Genevieve.
Yep.
Which honestly he should.
Yeah. I agree.
Yep. All right, let's get into who can't win this game and our rank downs, dank downs, and jank downs.
And before we get into that, just a quick recap from this last week. Our listeners had Rachel at the top, followed by Sam, then Caroline, then Genevieve had a little bit of a drop, then Andy, Teeny, and Sue. So Sam and Caroline jumped up, Genevieve and Andy went down.
Okay. Derek, starts off. Dank it up.
Yeah, I've got Rachel at the top now. And that's because we got edit this time that Genevieve hasn't been playing the social game. She's been putting up walls and not building connections. It's one thing to be built up as a big threat. It's another thing to do that and also not be kind and nice and really do the Mike Holloway thing where you're kind of on top, but you're still being decent to people and you're being a good person. So I have to put Rachel above Genevieve based on social game differentiation and because Rachel has hardware. She's got a couple challenges and moves. So Rachel, Genevieve, Sam, and then Andy, Teeny, and Sue. I have moved Andy above Teeny, so he is officially out of my doghouse, and I am regretting my fork that I have stuck. Teeny is now who can't win, unless there's a surprise final 2 against Sue, in which case she still wins.
Okay. Are you going to put a fork in Teeny?
I'm not brave enough. I'm not brave enough to do it. Someone's clawed their way out. I don't know what to do.
In theory, in some alternate reality where you did not prematurely stick a fork in anyone, which you are, free to do. That's fine. And you had not stuck a fork yet in Andy. What would you do?
Ooh, I'd stick fork in Teeny.
Okay, there you go. Just curious.
All right. Josh, how jank is your jank down?
Mine's pretty jank. I'm keeping Genevieve at the top, but it's basically a 1A, 1B situation now with Genevieve and Rachel. I completely get the point that Derek's making and that Ryan is also about to make, I'm guessing. I'm still going to keep Genevieve up there just because if it ended today, I still think that she has that big threat label on her that, I think she'd get a lot of the support from people who are on the jury. But after Genevieve and Rachel, Andy's number 3 for me. I'll go through the rest of my list and then just, have a couple final words. But Andy's number 3 for me now, followed by Sam, Teeny, and Sue. I think Andy beats Sam in the end, and this is what I've been saying since last week, where I don't think Sam's a threat. I think Sam's a really, likable guy, but he's been talking himself into being a threat ever since Sierra went home and is taking this, oh, poor me attitude, which has been a self-fulfilling prophecy for him, that he's been being targeted even though he's not actually doing anything. He hasn't been part of, a big blind side or, taking out a close ally or something that gets you labeled as being a threat like Genevieve has when she, for some reason, took out Soul with like 10 people remaining. Sam has just been there. And I think if he gets to the end, he can, he has a shot. But this entire move was orchestrated by Andy. And that's going to be really hard for Sam to fight against, because if it is someone like Sue and Sam and Andy, for example, in the end, Andy can basically say, I saved you. My plan saved you, Sam. And I think that that's going to be able to sway a lot of voters. Unless something else, a lot of stuff can happen between now and then. But if the game ended today, I think that he has a legitimate shot to beat Andy. As I mentioned, Teeny is now in the can't win category. Her and Sue. And I think there is actually now a fairly decent gap. She had a terrible episode. And one of the people that she had a shot at beating, Caroline, went home. If it's Sam, Teeny, and Sue at the end, I think Sam takes that.
Mine is the same as Derek's. Rachel, Genevieve, Sam, Andy, and my 2 can't win are Teeny and Sue.
Quick push on Josh. We sang Sam's praises after Sierra's boot episode that he played really well. He played nice. He reintegrated. He diminished.
He played chaotically, which we liked.
And was able to get Soul out, even though he was another primary target. So Sam hasn't been doing nothing. So I take a little bit of issue with your jank down on that.
One of the biggest flaws in Survivor is recency bias. I think a lot of people have already forgotten that. Soul might not have.
The Soul and Sierra haven't.
All right. Last thing we got to talk about is the Survivor pool. Derek won. Derek has, and that was just with the 3 of us, but with our listeners as well, it is over, and Derek has won again. Our last listener standing, Jordan. His only pick left tonight was Caroline. Nope. Caroline's out. Derek's only pick left was Genevieve. Genevieve survives.
Miraculously.
It is over. Derek is the winner of the Survivor pool this season. I'm next everybody. Derek, congratulations. You suck.
I appreciate that I was able to defeat the listeners as well. Jordan, thanks for playing.
Yep. Thanks for playing, Jordan. And then next season, get pumped. We're doing it again in season 48. So let's more people play. Everyone play.
A fitting end, by the way, as a duel between Genevieve and
Caroline.
Caroline.
Yep. It was great. A lot of fun. But that's it on the Survivor pool for the season. All right, guys. That was a great episode. Is there anything else?
One final thing. I mean, we could go through all the social media, but let's take that time that we usually spend. You know where we're at by now. Spotify Wrapped is our favorite winter holiday here on the Castaway Consultants.
Happy Spotify Wrapped to all who celebrate.
Yes, to all who celebrate. Airing of grievances, but airing of podcasts. If we made your top 5 or any of your lists, reach out to us on social media with a screenshot, and if you want, we can give you a shout out. If you don't want us to give you a shout out, let us know, but we love seeing that because I don't know about you guys, but I'm humbled that people choose to spend an hour of their week, the valuable time, listening to us talk about a funny game show, Survivor. The last thing that I wanted to say when we got our Spotify Wrapped summary, I always love seeing when we're played in multiple countries, and we played in 38 countries last year, and that is so cool to me. We've gotten messages in the past. We use your podcast to learn English for our job, for whatever, or we're coming to the United States. I love that stuff so much. So reach out if we are one of your top podcasts or your top podcast. We love it.
Now, are we the number 1 podcast in North Korea yet? That's what the goal is.
Number 1 in North Korea.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I think we might be censored out of the Supreme Leader's approved list.
Darn.
Thank you to everyone who already tagged us and everything. Not going to go through and shout everyone out, but we try to respond basically to everyone out there. And like Derek said, not everyone wants to be shouted out on a podcast, so we won't just rattle off a bunch of names there, but you know who you are.
Thank you for listening. We really appreciate it. Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome to build this community out of nothing, and then just to see people actually want to listen to us and listen to us a lot is really special.
Why do you listen to us? We haven't played, but we admit it, and we want to. Jeff, cast me.
Yeah. Okay, I will shout out one person just because it's relevant to that. So Matthew, actually, this is the second consecutive year that we're his number one podcast on Wrapped. So shout out to him as well. But he did say the other Survivor podcaster who was in his Spotify Wrapped last year made it onto Survivor Quebec season 2.
Oh, okay.
So he's saying, I hope you guys are next for Survivor US.
Survivor Quebec, let's go.
No, Survivor US.
Look, if the choice is Survivor Quebec or nothing, I'm going on Survivor Quebec.
No, fair.
I can't speak French.
Enough Canadians have won US Survivor. We need to take
time.
over.
We gotta
Reciprocity.
Reciprocity. So we gotta send the Americans to take over Quebec. I can't speak any French, but I'll go.
I'll need to start listening to that podcast so I can speak French.
Operation Italy, no, Operation Canada.
French Canadian.
Blame Canada.
Blame Canada.
Canada.
All right. Follow us on Blue Sky. That's the new one we're on, so check us out there. That's the big one I want to plug. Also, Threads. Can't forget Threads. Never forget Threads.
Never forget Threads.
All right, this has been the Castaway Consultants.
Got nothing else for you.
Good night.
Mamma mia.